The Mitsubishi brand may not have the same sales volume or presence in America as some of its more well-known Japanese rivals, especially missing models like the Galant, the Montero, back when the Eclipse was an Eclipse. But the company has been seeing some notable sales growth in the past few years. Part of that growth came from the recently redesigned fourth-generation Outlander, first introduced to America back in 2021. The Outlander name was once the brand's smallest and most affordable SUV, but today it stands as the flagship model for Mitsubishi in North America, competing in the red-hot segment that also includes heavy hitters like the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. For 2025, the latest Outlander is getting its first significant refresh, one that includes updated styling on the outside and a big upgrade in technology on the inside. So backed by unpopular demand, I'm Rob, filling in for Sophion today in Los Angeles to get you all the details on this refreshed 2025 Outlander and get behind the wheel. And the big question I want answered, has Mitsubishi made enough changes to their flagship model to make this thing relevant and competitive in the segment? Stay tuned to find out. So let's go ahead and get underneath the hood of this refreshed 2025 Outlander. This motor is borrowed from their friends at Nissan, as is a lot of things with this platform. However, the big difference is Nissan no longer uses this engine in the Rogue, so this is a standalone engine in the Outlander. It is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated double overhead cam direct injection 4-cylinder, making 181 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. It uses a CVT transmission. There are 8 simulated gears, and you can take your pick between front-wheel drive or the company's super all-wheel control, all-wheel drive system, like this top-of-the-tier trim that I'm showing you here has. MPG has not changed as well, even though the weight did go up marginally. You're still going to get 2431 for front-wheel drive models and 2430 for all-wheel drive models like this one. You're looking at around 375 miles of range with a 14.5 gallon fuel tank. We have a roughly a 0 to 60 acceleration estimate of just under 9 seconds. That's what Sophion got in the most recent test he did. Unfortunately, I don't have the race box that we use with me, so we'll have to see how it feels out on the road though. Top speed is going to be 110 miles an hour. This vehicle will tow 2,000 pounds. And the curb weight is only going to increase roughly 60 to 70 pounds based on the refresh model, and that's really just coming from the increase in sound insulation and isolation that it uses to make this a much more premium feeling and sounding vehicle out on the road. So now that we've closed the hood of this refreshed 2025 Outlander, let's go ahead and talk about some exterior styling changes. I do apologize for everything that's going on around here. LA is not a great place to film. There's people, trash trucks, school buses, and children screaming, so my apologies in advance for the surroundings. But you can see this refreshed Outlander certainly is distinctive, is a word that I'll use. I personally am not a huge fan of how busy the front end is, but it certainly does stand out. This color is going to be a new color for 2025. It's called Moonstone Gray. It's pretty handsome. It goes along the themes of other manufacturers that are using kind of this grayish color. Let me see if I can get a little bit more of, there we go. You can kind of see it a little bit better there. You will see here, however, that the other updates to the front end besides the color are not significant. Pre-refreshed models actually had a grille that's separated down here along the cut line. Now you can see that the hood actually opens up here. This has also been smoothed out a little bit. The previous pre-refresh model had a kind of a fake grill insert vent there. The hood actually has gotten heavier, believe it or not, because it is now actually made out of steel. That's a change that a lot of manufacturers would not do. They'd be going the other way to make things lighter. But Mitsubishi said they did it for noise, harshness, and vibration. They wanted a heavier, more sturdy hood to make it feel like it actually felt a little bit more secure and a little more premium. You still do have the LED headlights. They are divorced. You have your turn signal up here, which is LED, and your DRLs up there. Your headlights are down here at the bottom. You do have LED fog lights as well. The bottom trim of the lower lip here has also been kind of inverted. It used to be that these areas that are kind of tucked up there were actually sticking out, and they've now been brought up a little bit. Everything else for the front end is pretty much the same as well, though. You have parking sensors, and you also have headlight washers as well. You'll also note things like Outlander being spelled out boldly here across the grille in a black lettering, which looks good. A little bit of hood sculpting there. You don't have any sort of turbo bulges, unfortunately, like you would from a 90s Eclipse, but it is still a distinctive front end that I think looks pretty well. Mitsubishi said that they did not want this to be mistaken for any other SUVs when you see them in their rearview mirror. Moving around the side of the vehicle, you can see that this looks like it's a bigger vehicle for the compact SUV segment. Remember, this segment has things like the RAV4 CR-V, CX-5, Bronco Sport, Tucson, Tiguan, those sort of vehicles. And this actually is a relatively long vehicle for the segment. It's 2.5 inches longer than its platform mate, the Rogue. and it actually does accommodate a third row. I believe the only other vehicle in the segment right now that offers a third row is going to be the Tiguan, although I believe that that's actually been discontinued for the 2025 model year. I'll have to check on that or let Sophie follow up on that for you. Ground clearance is going to be 8.4 inches, so it's actually not too bad for the segment, but you're not going to be taking this thing rock crawling anyway. Total length is 185.4 inches, he tried to say. Wheelbase is 106.5. The wheels on this top-of-the-line model is going to be a 20-inch wheel. It's actually the only 20-inch wheel in the class. These are completely redesigned for this 2025 refresh. They look pretty handsome. Me and a couple of my colleagues here commented they kind of look like a Honda Prologue wheel. There's a little bit more going on in the middle. The pre-refreshed model wheels actually look pretty good, I thought, and these ones do also look good as well, but there's a lot of exposed surfaces here, so if you kind of look at it from the side here, you're not going to have a lot of sidewall protection as far as curbing your wheels if you are not an excellent driver per se, so you will be showing damage there kind of easily. The tires themselves are actually a pretty sizable 235, 45, 20, so you've got a decent amount of sidewall, but nothing too crazy to go off-roading. It does feel pretty good and sound pretty good out on the road, I think, for NHV, along with that new steel hood. The brakes are unchanged in this refreshed Outlander. Your front discs are going to be 13.8. At the rear, you're going to have a 13-inch disc, and they are ventilated. Moving up the rest of the side here, you can see that you have integrated LED turn signals in the mirrors. These are power folding mirrors. You have your camera for your 360 camera. A decent amount of chrome along the side. The kind of is less than is in the front, so I kind of like that. The biggest chunk of it's going to be right here. You do have a panoramic moonroof that does open to vent air, which Sophiana always likes. I know that he's not a fan of panoramic moonroofs that don't open up, so we were able to drive this car, and it actually was pretty nice to have a 70-degree day here in Los Angeles. Come down the back, you have a relatively sizable rear spoiler. That is not new. The only thing that's new back here besides the color is going to be the way these taillights are actually set up. The taillights are now full LED, so you have an LED turn signal, LED brake light, and an LED reverse light. It used to be incandescent turn and reverse light. You can see that the outer lens here is now clear to kind of reveal a 3D effect. It looks pretty premium. I actually think it does look pretty good. You have things like badges for Outlander, the Mitsubishi logo, and your trim line over here. Also up here you have a sticker for your super all-wheel control, the all-wheel drive system. I kind of think the sticker looks a little silly, but again, I'm not a fan of lots of badges, so I'd almost rather have the sticker than another gigantic badge back there. But stickers in general I'm not a fan of. You do have an exposed rear window wiper, so I know a lot of manufacturers do tuck it up underneath the spoiler, but it looks pretty decent there as well. Backing off a little bit, you can see that the styling here has been called Hexagard Horizon. Supposedly that's a heritage item from the Montero and the Pajero SUVs from the 90s. I mean, okay, that's marketing. I think it looks decent, but I wouldn't say that it looks heritage inspired. Not a big deal though. When you come up to the back, there is a power lift gate included. Just press that there, you will open up. I actually like the beep sound that you hear from that. It's a very small, chirpy sound instead of something ridiculous and loud. I don't think you could hear it with how loud it is out here though, unfortunately. Right now I have the third row seats up. The headrests are actually not installed right now. You have this little bit of underfloor storage behind where the headrests fit just nicely. If you had them installed into the seats, you could put other things underneath there. So again, third row in this segment is pretty exclusive. However, you are only going to get 10.9 cubic feet of storage space behind here. So, you know, you could fit a couple backpacks, you could fit some grocery bags, but you're not going to fit a full-size 22-inch rollerboard or anything like that. Also, if you look over the seats here, sorry, this diesel Yukon is quite loud. You can see that legroom, well, it's not much. It's really not much. But these are jump seats that you can use in a pinch if you have to. We'll get more into that when we get into the interior. To fold these down, you just pull on the top here. On that side, pull the top over here. And you can see once you fold down the third row, you actually do have a good amount of space, 30.6 cubic feet. As for comparison, it is not quite as big as some of its competitors, though. RAV4 is 37.6, CRV is 39.3, so it is a little bit on the smaller side, unfortunately. If you fold down the second row, which you can do by this lever right here, I do appreciate that, because some manufacturers and cars make you go up and do it manually. Much easier to do. Of course, the headrest got in the way, it always does for us. But once those are folded down, you can see that it is actually almost flat. There's a little bit of an incline on the seat there. But behind the first row, everything is folded down. You're going to have a total of 64.3 cubic feet. Again, that is competitive in the segment, but definitely not class leading. Again, the RAV4 is 69.8 cubic feet. CRV is a leader there with 76.5 cubic feet of space. But, you know, it's usable. The opening is relatively wide. You don't really have any issues with tie downs because there is a cargo cover, which I'm going to grab in just a second and show you how that works, because it is a little bit convoluted. Okay, I'm actually not going to show you the cargo cover because I put it down next to the street over there, and this being Los Angeles, it is not there anymore. It was either stolen or suddenly misplaced. Sorry. So let's go ahead and move on to the inside of this refreshed 2025 Outlander. Walking up to the vehicle, first thing I'll show you is the key fob here. This key fob is not changed, and it looks like it actually may be a version of a Nissan key fob. It's pretty similar there, but it does have a Mitsubishi logo, your typical buttons for lock, unlock. You can use the power liftgate in the back and a function for panic, of course. Mitsubishi also does include their app called Mitsubishi Connect, and that's been updated as well. You're going to have 2 different trial periods for this app. 1 year is going to give you the standard vehicle functions like lock, unlock, to operate your horn, your headlights, vehicle locator, turning on your climate control, scheduling your climate control, defrosting, heated wheels, heated seats, all that sort of stuff. You're also going to get 5 years, though, of safety information, safety features in the app. You're going to have collision warnings and notifications. You're going to have SOS assistance. You're going to have a vehicle health report and status report. And obviously, you can update those and pay for them if you want to after the trial periods. But if you don't want to use the app, you can just keep the key fob in your pocket and walk up to the vehicle. There's not a sensor on the back of here. You do need to press the button here. When you do that, you can see the vehicle will unlock. Power mirrors will unfold for you. You can open it up, and you are greeted by this new interior color called Brick Brown. This color is going to be a quilted semi-aniline leather. That is a real leather. There will be a different option for the mid-trims. It is a synthetic leather. It's a new light gray color as well. I'll see if there's any B-roll of that I can put over for you. These seats look really premium. I really do appreciate the cross-stitching. It looks like a luxury seat, and I'll tell you how they feel when I sit in them in just a second here. You can see the driver is a 8-way power. You do have lumbar adjustments. The passenger seat over there is, however, only a 4-way power seat. Now, moving over to the door panel here, it also has this really nice quilted material with the brick brown leather material up top. It is pretty soft. Over here, it is a harder material, but the texture on it is pretty nice. It actually looks like a leather, but it is a harder touch material. Silver painted plastic, same thing for the door handle. It is plastic, but silver painted. You have 2-person memory seats down here. More of that stitching on the side here. Again, very soft where your elbow is going to go here. Some faux carbon fiber trim here. This is not real. However, it actually is textured. A lot of fake carbon fiber you'll see is just smooth, kind of cheap feeling material, but this is not. It actually is textured. Window switches here as well are automatic up and down for all 4. They actually do feel pretty good. You have your power mirror controls there as well. Moving down to the bottom part of the door panel, it is a scratchy material as well, but you do have a good amount of storage down there, and a nice metal speaker cover for this new premium Yamaha sound system. We'll get into that more in just a little bit. Stepping into the vehicle with the pretty average size ground clearance here, you don't have to really step up at all. Come in and close the door. Door sounds great. Again, I'll let Sophie comment on his door slamming feelings and thoughts later on. Settling into the vehicle, though, it feels like a pretty premium place to be. I think that they've invested money into the right places they needed to. There haven't been massive changes. First thing you're greeted with here is a 12.3-inch instrument panel, which we can go ahead and start the vehicle up. Press the start-stop button behind here. You have a nice animation and that chime. It is a typical traditional starter noise since this is not a hybrid vehicle. The instrument panel behind here, it looks pretty premium. You have a couple of different abilities to change things, go between different screens. You have your miles per gallon, your fuel economy information, tire pressures. Obviously, it's not going to come up right now because the vehicle hasn't been moving. You have driver assistance information and your stereo as well. It looks like a pretty premium instrument panel here. There's nothing here that really reminds you of a Nissan, although they do have a similar system in the Rogue and other Nissan products. Coming back here a little bit more, you have a steering wheel. It has not been updated, but it still feels pretty nice. It's a 4-spoke design. You have pretty nice grips here, and you also have decently feeling plastic, but still pretty premium paddle shifters behind here for those 8 simulated speeds in the transmission. The rest of the materials here look and feel pretty good. It is a hard touch, but it's not scratchy. Again, it is made with a pretty nice graining effect on there. You have more of this nice leather here that is soft. A vent that kind of looks like it goes all the way across, but you really have 1, 2, 3, and 4 vents on here. Heads-up display also is standard. This updated 12.3-inch display works pretty well. In the pre-refresh model was actually a smaller display, only a 7-inch display, so that's been upgraded as well. You have some dedicated buttons here on the side that don't move for your home, your phone. There's no phone connected right now. Your music. It does have built-in navigation, although I will say that it is a little bit on the older side. It looks a little bit clunky, but you do have traffic and those sort of things. There is Google integration here, so you're going to have seen things like local gas prices. The traffic comes from that as well, and there is a way to do Google Earth images as well and make it look a little bit nicer. You have your home screen right here. You can do split view as well. And you have your notifications for the vehicle as well here. Right now I don't have CarPlay hooked up, but there is now wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The wireless Android Auto is a new feature this year that was not on the refreshed model. Down here you have some dedicated buttons, seek and skip for your track volume. There used to be 2 knobs, one for your volume, one for your seek and skip, but now they are buttons. You also have a camera button. There's going to be a full 360 camera on this vehicle. The quality looks pretty good, honestly. You have trajectory and you have distance markers, parking sensors front and back. You can see right now I'm parked in a pretty cramped area, and it's kind of going off everywhere, showing you that you need to be real careful when you're driving the vehicle around. It's a good amount of technology that has been invested into this screen, and for the class, I think that there's nothing else that really beats it, to be honest with you. Looking down here, you have your HVAC controls, all dedicated buttons, which is nice. They're not baked into the screen up there. So you have heated seats. This model right here is the only one with cooled seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone temperature control here. There's not a third zone, unfortunately. Front defroster, rear defroster. Same thing over here for the passengers with their controls as well. Down here you have your wireless phone charger, 2 USB-Cs there. All USB-As have been replaced with USB-Cs in this model, in all Outlanders actually. Transmission selector here, button for park. Everything else you have to press the little button on the side, all the way back for drive, all the way forward for reverse, and then in the middle for neutral. You can hear the car beeping, telling me if I don't want to move anywhere else I'll crash into something. Cup holders have been moved. They used to be back here and much smaller. Now they are moved forward, so a little bit better for ergonomics, and they also can hold a lot more liquids for us big fat Americans and our big gulps. Drive mode selector here, number of drive modes, eco, normal, off-road, winter, sand, that sort of stuff. So if you scroll through them here, I'll show you what the nice graphics look like. Again, eco, normal, tarmac, gravel, snow, and mud. We won't be able to off-road the car today, so we'll be stuck mostly in the tarmac mode. You have an electronic parking brake and an auto brake hold as well. I know Sophion does not like piano black plastic, and there's a good amount of it here. Not an obscene amount, but I don't really know. Maybe they could put this material over here as well instead. I will say that there's a model that they showed us, the Trail Edition, that actually did use this material over here, this carbon fiber look, in a lot more of this interior. However, instead of it being a nice textured material, still fake, but still textured, it actually had this gloss material on it, so it didn't look really as nice, I don't think. You've got a nice padded armrest here for your elbow. Open this up, and you do have a center console here that now has a USB-C in there, and it is 50% bigger. Size-wise, I mean, 50% bigger means the old one was pretty darn small. I personally didn't get to spend any time in a pre-refreshed Outlander recently, but I can't imagine it being much smaller than that, but it's a decent amount of size. Looking up here, we have a digital rear view mirror. That is a new feature for 2025. Coming up a little bit further, we have LED lighting up here and controls for your panoramic sunroof, which is a really nice addition to this. It lights up everything quite nicely. The biggest thing in here that I've not talked about yet is that Yamaha sound system. So we went through a presentation today based on the vehicle that was about an hour long, and then they had an entire other hour-long presentation from a gentleman from Japan who only spoke Japanese. We actually had to use a translator. Props to that gentleman from Yamaha, because the fact that he can come over here and speak to us in a little bit of English and mostly Japanese is awesome. I will say that it was a long presentation with a lot of information that if you are an audiophile, you probably understood a lot more of it than we did. It was super detailed and talked about how they did things as complicated as changing waveforms based on if it's raining for the rain hitting your front glass here, of how that's going to impact the way that the audio sounds. They're actually saying that they changed the wavelengths of certain parts of the speakers and how sound was being output depending on how air was being blown around the vehicle. So, I mean, that's a huge investment, and I will say that the system sounds great. They actually did not give us any USBs with high quality music, so we had to kind of rely on XM and that sort of stuff on our phones. It sounded great to me, I thought, but I'm not an expert. Sofyan will share his thoughts on that. I will say though, all of the metal speaker covers look really beautiful. I like the Yamaha branding, and the what they called was certain Japanese symbols and concepts for the shapes inside the grill. And all the grills up here are all metal. This system is a 1650 watt with 12 speakers. You've got a 12-inch sub as well. The base system in the non-premium models is actually also a Yamaha system. So Yamaha took care of all the audio and everything in this car. That one is only a 8-speaker system with about roughly 1,000 watts. Again, Yamaha is just very proud that they invested in this car. They said that it is the first time that Yamaha has designed a sound system for a USDM vehicle. But overall, the interior of this vehicle, it feels pretty premium for the segment. I mean, you have to remember, this is a mainstream segment competing with things like CR-Vs, RAV4s, Tiguan's, Rogues, obviously. And this feels pretty premium. I'd be happy to spend time in here if I was going on a road trip. You know, if driving enthusiasm and speed necessarily aren't the priorities, comfort is, and making you feel like you are in a hospitable environment. In fact, they presented a word to us, which I will have to read off my notes. Omotenashi, O-M-O-T-E-N-A-S-H-I, which is a Japanese word which basically translates to hospitality, and it feels hospitable. I think they did a great job with that. So let's go ahead and get into the second and third row of this refreshed 2025 Outlander. Opening the door, you're greeted by that nice same brick brown interior. I'm glad they didn't downgrade the material. Same thing over here on the door panel. They didn't downgrade anything. It's still a soft leather here with the quilted texture here. You have the sun blockers, or the peasant shades as Sofyan likes to call them. Metal speaker covers still. They did not downgrade that as well. I'm glad auto manufacturers will go to a black plastic for the rear third rows or second rows, and they did not do that here. Still the same textured faux carbon fiber material here as well. Hard touch down here with a lot more storage as well. Door sills, it would say Outlander as well. Those don't light up or anything like that. Legroom back here is 39.9 cubic inches, rather, not cubic feet, inches. That is pretty class competitive. A CR-V has 41. RAV4 actually has a little bit less at 37.8. So this is my driving position right here. I'm about 4 inches taller than Sofyan, depending on how my hair is in the day. So keep in mind that it's a little bit further back than he would sit. Let's go ahead and get back here and see. And I can get back here and sit. Probably got about 2 inches of space here. Crossing my legs, as Sofyan likes to do, would be a little on the difficult side, but once you do it, you can be comfortable. I like that. Okay, no problem at all. You have some interesting seat back pockets, a big one here, medium, and a small. Same thing on that side. Over here you have 2 air vents, heated seats 3 level, and I did lie, I'm sorry, this is a tri-zone, not a dual zone HVAC system, so you have your own HVAC controls back here. Underneath there you have 2 more USB-Cs. Not a completely flat floor, but it's not pretty intrusive. I mean, a person could sit here in the middle and yeah, they'd be all right there. That wouldn't be too bad as long as you're not 3 wide frame Americans. The moonroof does let in a lot of light here. I actually had to redo this shot because I forgot to open it and it was dark back here. So I'm really glad that the headroom is not super impacted. I'll go ahead and flip around the camera here. You can see that there is a decent amount of headroom space. There is a carve out up there, and I can move my head around and not really be impacted by that negatively. There is also a reclining seat function. So if I pull this lever, let's see, decently far, not too bad. You can see compared to the other seats how far back it goes. Actually, this is pretty comfortable. I'll be all right with this on a longer road trip. Obviously, that's going to impact the already negligible back seat third row room. Let's bring this back up. Oh, it actually inclines a lot too, so you can sit uncomfortably, comfortably, or really comfortably, it seems. You can also pull this strap right here, which will bring the armrest down. 2 cup holders in there. One thing I don't like about these sort of armrests, though, is that there's not a lot of space here for your elbow. If you're sitting here on a long trip, you're definitely going to have kind of an indentation where the hard part is there, but that's all right. And one of the features I did forget to show you is this seat actually does have a grab handle here that you can move forward and back, so that's all the way forward. Charlie horse. I don't know who would do that. Stupid. Oh, let's go back. Okay, there we go. Whew, old and decrepit. Since we're doing that, let's go ahead and get in the third row and hurt myself some more. Oh, God. All right. A strap right here. You can see we'll fold the seat as so. So if you have a child seat anchored there, you will not be able to keep it there, unfortunately. Once that's done, you think that maybe the seat will flip up after that, but remember, it's on a track, so it's not going to actually do that. So you're going to climb back here somehow. Let's figure it out together. I feel like I'm going spelunking right now. Oh my God. Okay, so this is a third row SUV, kind of. You can see that this is super comfortable. You can go ahead and do that if you want to. But yeah, really the only way to get some space back here for anyone that is not a paraplegic is to move the seat forward. So you can see I have that seat moved all the way forward, so the amputee is now going to sit in the second row instead of the third row. And I can sit here, and I've got negligible room here. I can move my hand back and forth. It is touching there, but the biggest issue that I'm seeing is this. Third row SUV, it's there for an emergency, absolutely. If you have no other option to get your friends or family, this will work in a pinch. As far as features back here, you do have a cup holder, so that's good. You have another cup holder, so that's good. Up here, though, there is no LED lighting, there is no air vents, but I wouldn't really expect that, to be honest with you. Hey, you know what? It's there if you need it, but I don't see a lot of people using this third row, to be honest with you. Oh, Lord.
I'd say we're just here to get this shit done.
Correct. I mean, the sun is going down. Jesus, you really do sit in a very, very upright. There we go. Much better. All right, y'all. We are finally getting this 2025 refreshed, renewed Mitsubishi Outlander out on the road.
Yeah.
I'm joined by my good friend Travis Grady from Auto Buyer's Guide.
Hello, everyone.
Pleasure to have him on board. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing out on the road. We say road. We've actually found this very interesting I don't know what you call it, side road away from downtown West Hollywood.
We're on our own adventure.
That's right, we are on our own adventure.
We're outlanding.
We are outlanding.
Yep.
So the driving impressions for this vehicle that we're going to provide you probably are not going to be a massive change from what Sophion has said in the past, other than the fact that it's now me telling you instead of him, because the powertrain is unchanged. As I said earlier, it is still a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, 181 both on the power and the torque. So it's definitely not a power king. You're definitely not going to be getting 0 to 60 times that are going to make Sophion giggle, nor myself. We don't even have our race box, unfortunately. Sophion has that with him out in Korea.
Say last time we tested it, it was about, I want to say it was 8.7 or 8.4. I can double check on that. So not quick. And we have added, what, 60, 70 pounds in this because of the added sound deadening, the sound system, and other random little upgrades here and there. So yeah, it's not going to be a quick car, but as Sophion would say, you don't buy a family SUV to go drag racing. At least most people don't. Some people drive them that way, but not all the time. And again, if you're going to be loading this thing up with probably, well, 5 people would be the most, unless you want to try and use that third row, right? 4 comfortably, 5 okay, 7 tight.
7 if maybe a couple of them are tied up in.
But you and I both crawled back there. It is doable.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time. You want to put the smallest and the next smallest back there if you're trying to stack that up. But yeah. And
you are going to be sacrificing some of that second row leg room in order to do that, because it's really not doable otherwise.
But you can because of the sliding second row, which is a good thing.
It is. It's very versatile back there. But as far as the driving dynamics go, y'all, we've got a stop sign here. We're going to see a little quick acceleration. We'll brake torque it. Why not?
Sure.
Change it to, let's see.
Tarmac mode.
Tarmac mode, yes. Yeah. Here we go.
Ooh, I thought about it for a second.
Okay, so it went. It feels pretty lethargic, y'all, but that's okay. Like I said, it's not the mission of this car. You're not going to be doing that. You're not going to be brake torquing. You're probably not going to be putting it in tarmac mode, but
no.
That does not change anything as far as any sort of adaptive dampers. There's none of that in this car. They did say that they redid the tuning on the suspension a little bit, though. Right,
yeah,
Travis?
Slight revision. Honestly, mostly because of the extra weight, I think, and just kind of balancing those things out. But this has always been a pretty good riding vehicle, and it remains that today.
It's smooth, it's comfortable. I wouldn't say it's confidence inspiring, but I can feel like I know what the car is going to do. I mean, we're driving on these pretty darn narrow roads right now, and if we mess up and go off the side, it would not be a good thing. So I wouldn't want to be driving a vehicle that is not confidence inspiring at all. But visibility is pretty good. I was mentioning to Travis earlier, actually, I drive a Model 3, which has a very low cal, very good visibility. So to me personally, it feels like it has an expansive dash, but anything in this category is also going to have the exact same feel, I think.
And I have that same Model 3 at home, and it is a little bit different, but I do think it does a good job of fitting this bold stance that it has. And everything is nice and horizontal, clean lines, but yeah, a lot more dashboard than you and I are used to on a daily basis.
For sure. The seats are pretty comfortable. I have my cooled seats on right now, which they work pretty well. I think I've probably used cooled seats that maybe are a little bit better, but the vast majority of the time you're going to be using this, it's going to do pretty well for you, I think. That looks pretty up there. I guess we'll pull over for a second here and let them go by.
I will say I've done a lot of miles in a couple-year-old Outlander. We had one on our channel, and I did 2 800-mile road trips. Very comfortable. Not so much like, oh my gosh, I feel incredible, but not the same level of fatigue that you get in other cars. So it does that pretty well. You
mentioned earlier that this car does a pretty good job during the drive of making you feel like you're in a premium experience without necessarily thinking that you're in something like, you know, an Acura or an Audi or a Genesis or something, you know, that level, because massaging seats, you don't have that. You know, the sound system, the Yamaha, while it's great, I mean, it really is an upgrade. You know, you're not looking at a 30-speaker system that's going to be putting out 3,000 watts or anything like that.
Right. Not top tier, but certainly a step above a lot of other options you would find in this price range in this kind of vehicle. That
Absolutely.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. Fuel economy, we're not going to even touch on that because we have been driving this car in stop and go conditions and letting it idle for hours. So we're right now showing 9.4 miles per gallon.
Yeah, which is not going to be, I mean, here's the thing, this is not going to be highly efficient, but we should expect the same kind of numbers as we did in the previous models. 26 combined for the city, or excuse me, for the two-wheel drive, 27 combined. I have that flipped around. 27 for the two-wheel, 26 for the four-wheel, and
I think
that should be closer to what we would get.
Right, for the highway? I think you'll be getting that.
Yeah, and it's one different between the two and the all-wheel drive.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And if they do decide, which I'm sure they will decide to bring the PHEV, I'm sure that'll do about the same, because you were telling me that the PHEV of the pre-refresh model, you know, it doesn't necessarily get that much better efficiency than you would expect.
Right, it just adds the electric option, and they're selling the PHEV now, but I don't think that's coming with the same upgrades. That's going to be on a different production cycle, it seems. So
absolutely,
that will be at a later date.
Absolutely. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get this car out on the highway because we are in Los Angeles right now, and there's traffic literally everywhere. The only reason we're able to move the car at all is we found these kind of neighborhood back roads, and the quality of the road has changed a good amount back. There's broken pavement, there's dirt, there's bumps, there's that sort of stuff, and I think that the enhancements they've made to the NVH area that they also used it to implement the Yamaha sound system. I think it does a pretty good job. I feel pretty secluded from the exterior world right now. The only thing you really hear is the engine when I floored it. There's nothing really else coming through here.
Yeah, I think that's probably the least premium piece is the powertrain. Oh, yeah. And it could certainly be worse. It's just not up to the same level as you would expect another vehicle that fits a lot of these feature sets. But again, you are not paying that same level. So if that's something that you're having to pick and choose from, I'd probably take this.
No, you're right. The price point of this makes everything else that you get besides the driving dynamics pretty darn enjoyable and worth the amount of money that you're paying. Because, you know, low 40s topped out, you're not going to get, like you said, you're not going to get much of that in anything else in the segment. If you're okay with having something that maybe sometimes struggles to get out of its own way, the rest of your experience, I think, with the refreshed 2025 Outlander is going to be pretty enjoyable and rewarding for the money you spend.
Yeah.
So for 2025, it seems Mitsubishi has given the Outlander some conservative enhancements, which I think are smartly executed. As I mentioned, this model is by far the leader in the brand's sales growth in recent years, and it's never a good idea to try to fix what's not necessarily broken. Value has always been a strong weapon in the Outlander's arsenal, and that remains the case for this refreshed iteration. For 2025, the Outlander ES includes features like new 18-inch wheels, wireless Apple CarPlay is now augmented by wireless Android Auto, a redesigned console with USB-Cs, the 12.3-inch infotainment display with navigation standard, full LED lights inside and out, and a new Yamaha bass sound system with 8 speakers. This comes in at $29,645 for front-wheel drive. The SE trim comes in at $32,395 and adds new 20-inch wheels, a 15-watt wireless phone charger, rear USB-Cs, and the option of a new light gray interior. You can also add a tech package to this trim for an additional $3,200, which gives you the upgraded 12-speaker Yamaha sound system, the panoramic moonroof, and the 12.3-inch instrument panel. You can add the company's super all-wheel control, all-wheel drive system for an additional $1,800 to either of these trims. So this model that we've been showing you for most of the video is actually one of the most expensive models, coming in at $41,845. That does not include, and none of the prices I just gave you include, a $1,495 destination fee. So you have a good amount of spread between the prices, all the way starting underneath the $30,000 for that SE, going all the way up to the low 40s. You actually are going to have an even more expensive model called the Platinum. That's going to come in the $43,000 range. That gives you certain things like platinum badges, a two-tone color combination, things like that. So you have a good amount of spread here. Now, Mitsubishi did a good amount to update this model. You have new technology on the inside, and obviously Yamaha also thought that it was a good idea to invest a lot, not only into the premium sound system, but into the baseline as well. So Mitsubishi said their sales were up last year, double-digit figure percentage-wise, and that's led by this Outlander because, like I said, this almost makes up 50% of their sales here in the U.S. domestic market. I think it'll continue to do well for them. Things that didn't work out too well, that third row, you can't really do much in a refresh. You're going to need to do something in the next model, the next completely new model for this, if you want to put people back there who actually have legs, again, maybe tiny children or in a very small pinch. But things like wireless Android Auto added now and that new infotainment display make it a premium interior. I really do think that they've done a good job investing money where they need to make this a good option for people who don't want to necessarily break their budget, but have the ability to have a comfortable, roomy, relatively fuel-efficient family SUV for someone that doesn't need to put more than 3 or 4 people in there on a regular basis. I appreciate you guys dealing with me instead of Sophie on today. I want to thank Mitsubishi for taking me out here to Los Angeles to review this refreshed 2025 Outlander. If you want to keep seeing all the videos, or cars rather, that we're reviewing, go ahead and like us on Facebook.